Welcome, citizen. Do you know why you are here?
Of course. Of course.
Please, state your name for the record.
Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea. Correction. Former prefect of Judea. I was relieved of my duties in order to appear here in Rome.
Thank you for coming. And you do know why you are here?
Yes, my presence was requested by the Emperor Tiberius last year. He had questions about some of my actions as prefect.
The Emperor Tiberius is dead. Gaius Augustus Germanicus is now emperor.
Yes, yes. I had heard of Caligula's promotion on my way to Rome. I was, of course, saddened to hear of the late emperor's passing.
There are still questions.
Of course, of course. However, before we begin, I would like to read a prepared statement.
Proceed.
Senators and citizens, during my 10 years as prefect of Judea, I was faced with the administration of a difficult and restive area that was always on the verge of rebellion. My predecessor turned over an office that was lax in its enforcement of Roman laws and imperial prerogatives, and I was forced to impress upon the people of Judea they are now part of the greater glory that is Rome. If, at times, my treatment of certain groups seemed more harsh than some here in the city felt was necessary, I can only point to the fact that the collection of taxes increased significantly without requiring an increase in the local garrison, with no uprisings or widespread turmoil. My suppression of the Samaritans, while admittedly bloody, was totally within my powers as prefect and prevented a revolt that would have resulted in even greater death amongst the local population and certainly saved the lives of numerous citizens and Roman soldiers. I realize my reputation in Rome among certain politicians who never leave the capital is one of an overly harsh administrator, but I believe my results speak for themselves, and my 10 years of service in Judea are deserving of plaudits rather than condemnation. I was a good prefect. I am ready to answer your questions now.
Thank you, citizen. We would like to hear your version of the events surrounding the execution of a Judean resident referred to as Jesus of Nazareth. What can you tell us about this?
I'm sorry, who?
Jesus of Nazareth, sometimes styled as the King of the Jews. He was executed by your administration in the 16th year of the reign of the Emperor Tiberius for attempting to incite rebellion amongst the people of Judea.
My apologies, I need to consult my notes. Yes, I remember it now. Yes, an unfortunate incident.
Can you tell us, in your own words, what happened with Jesus of Nazareth?
Of course. The locals were celebrating some sort of annual feast commemorating some event in their long but obscure history. Tensions were high, so I had moved my residence from Caesarea to Jerusalem to keep an eye on the garrison there. Emotions were running high. Apparently some local holy man had entered into the city, and the crowd had greeted him with some sort of spontaneous celebration, which had the Jewish High Council all upset. You need to understand, this sort of thing goes on all the time in Judea. You cannot throw a stone in the desert without hitting some holy man. There is always somebody preaching about this God or that God, or predicting doom, or doing magic tricks like healing the sick or raising the dead. There was apparently a local holy man who believed he could clean all sins from his followers by dunking them in the river. Apparently his holy words were a substitute for soap. So my point is, I was not overly worried about yet another madman coming to Jerusalem. My fear was that the Jewish High Council would overreact.
It was the High Council that brought Jesus to you, was it not?
It was. They had seized him and interrogated him, and they probably meant to kill him themselves, but then they lost their nerve and brought him to me. They told me that he had tried to make himself king in Jerusalem and had urged the people to stop paying taxes to Caesar.
And had he?
See, I had heard about this Jesus in the previous year. He had caused one of my, Zacchaeus, my chief tax collector in Jericho, to quit his post. So naturally, I had him investigated to find out if this was some sort of plot going on to undermine the tax collectors throughout Judea. One of my agents reported that quite the contrary. During one of his lessons to his followers, Jesus had held up a sesterce coin with the image of Caesar on it and said, "That which was Caesar's should be given in tribute to Caesar." As Judeans go, this made him a model subject. Also, Jesus was preaching peace, and as prefect, I like my people peaceful, so I had no problem with Jesus.
And what about his being king of the Jews?
See, I never heard him claim that. I had asked him at one point, "Are you king of the Jews, as these people say you are supposed to be?" And his answer was, "So you all say." I took that to be an evasion to prevent further beatings by the Jewish guards. The high priest became very upset when Jesus refused to confess in front of me. Frankly, I was amazed that Jesus simply didn't say whatever they wanted to get them to stop beating him. It had been my experience with subjects of torture that they tend to say whatever is asked of them, simply to make their tormentors happy and to stop the pain. And Jesus was in a great deal of pain.
So what was he guilty of?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He was... I hate to use the word innocent because no man is truly innocent, but his eyes, they were of a man who had committed no crime. But the High Council, they went crazy. They kept yelling that he was a traitor to Rome, that... See, you have to understand these people. The council could have whipped together a mob, they would have stormed the gates, they would have overwhelmed the garrison, I would not have been able to get in reinforcements. It was a very tense time. You don't understand these people like I did. Then I realized there was an out. One of my predecessors had established a custom where each year during this festival, they would release one of the political prisoners. And I had the perfect counterpoint. He actually wasn't even a political prisoner at all. He was a murderer who had been taken into custody by the guard not long before. He had already been sentenced to death, and nobody had said one word about mercy for him. So I knew that the High Council would not go against the will of the people. So I brought the murderer and Jesus out to the balcony and showed them to the people. And the people demanded that the murderer be released. This man had killed their children. Jesus had preached peace. But they yelled that Jesus should be crucified. Why? What had he done that made them hate him so much? Anyway, my plan worked against me. I now had exactly the mob that I had feared yelling for blood. I had no choice. I had to keep the peace. I had to sentence Jesus to be crucified until dead.
And then you washed your hands?
I washed my hands as a symbol, as a metaphor. Judeans like metaphors. It helps them understand things. They didn't understand. I didn't understand. They wanted him dead when he had done nothing to deserve death. I had no choice. I had to keep the peace, but I wanted them to understand this was not my doing.
Did you even try to change the minds of the High Council?
Over and over again, I looked to Jesus for help, and he just stared at nothing. Or maybe he was a holy man, and he could see into the future. And he saw that his future was going to end pretty soon. I have confronted plotters and traitors and conspirators in my time. Jesus was none of these things.
So you say he was innocent?
No man is innocent. Everybody is guilty of something, but what was Jesus of Nazareth guilty of? Nothing that a prefect of Rome could find in judgment.
But you failed in your duties as prefect.
Failed? I kept the peace. I kept the taxes coming to Rome. I was a good prefect. I was a good prefect.
So you say. These are all the questions we have for now, citizen. We thank you for appearing here to answer them, or answer them as best you can. On your way out, you will find a basin of water. You may want to wash your hands. We understand that blood can be very hard to get out of the skin, especially certain kinds of blood. Or, if you wish, just think of it as a metaphor.